1915, the Anzacs were entrenched above the beaches of Gallipoli, the Turks launching large-scale frontal assaults against their depleted lines. Amongst the harrowing chaos, a handful of enemy soldiers captured a small section of trench at Courtney's Post. Countless attempts to drive them out failed, leaving the Anzacs bloody, bruised, and battling for the will to continue. Just as defeat began to drain the remaining drops of hope possessed by the weary soldiers, Captain Albert Jacker took advantage of a diversion created by bomb throwers and leapt in, killing most of the occupants. For this most conspicuous bravery, Captain Jacker was awarded Australia's first Victoria Cross of the First World War. The Australian official historian Charles Bean described his actions as the most dramatic and effective act of individual audacity in the history of the AIF. Jacker was described in a newspaper and for many years to come as the symbol of the spirit of the Anzacs. Soldiers such as Captain Albert Jacker are a thread in the tapestry of our nation, a tapestry woven by bravery and glazed in reverence, a tapestry known as the spirit of the Anzacs. For our valiant nation, the Great War remains the most devastating conflict we have faced. Our country suffered an atrocious death toll consisting of Australians from all corners of our country. From a population of fewer than 5 million, 416,809 men enlisted, of whom more than 60,000 were killed and 156 wounded or taken prisoner. These figures alone stirs feelings of anguish within oneself, knowing that these figures were fathers, mothers, and children taken by the brutality of war. Furthermore, it is essential to acknowledge the estimated 1,200 Indigenous Australians who, despite not possessing full recognition of their citizenship, enlisted. They nonetheless fought and served as equals. Even Australians who are younger than myself now had a devotion to our country so fierce, they stood along with grown men and women in the trenches. Their age was not a barrier to their valour. The spirit of the Anzacs transcends differences and barriers, embracing the bravery of all, and with this in mind, we stand united today in memory. A mere 2 years ago, my fellow Premier's Anzac Prize recipients and I reflected on the spirit of the Anzacs in preparation for our anticipated involvement in the dawn service at the Australian National Memorial in Villers-Bretonneux, France. Although my fellow tour members and I were not able to go on tour due to the challenges of COVID-19, our appreciation for the service of Australian men and women is not diminished. The impact of war was brought closer to home for my fellow Premier's Anzac Prize recipients and I as we stepped into the shoes of our relatives who fought for our country during the Young Historians Workshop of January of 2020, as we commemorated and researched chosen soldiers and service people. To unfold the story of my great-grandfather, Leslie Lovell, and his service to Australia was an honour like no other, bringing me closer to the history of my family and my country. Although we did not have the opportunity to commemorate our chosen veterans at various Commonwealth war games in England, France and Belgium, our eyes were opened to the enduring spirit of the Anzacs on the battlefields all those years ago. On behalf of my fellow Premier's Anzac Prize recipients and I, we are honoured to represent our state, and we are privileged to play a part in Anzac commemorations such as this one today. Using the tapestry of our nation's identity, woven by our Anzacs over a century earlier, we continue to show the world what it truly means to be an Australian. They say that war is death's dearest friend and peace's greatest enemy. War is commanded by cruelty, cloaked by fear, and tainted by the threat of survival. Still, our country's history of war is integral to our core values. As we stand together here today, we stand together in spirit. We stand as one, as they did in the battlefields and in the trenches. While recent events have disrupted the extent to which we can commemorate our fallen Anzacs, it is nonetheless called us to reflect on the values that Australians live by, values born in part on those battles. our contemporary Australia is a product of the generations who fought and the mateship exhibited by those still on our home soil. Those Australians in the trenches, in the air, on the seas, and lost to the battlefield, exemplified mateship, loyalty, and courage. We recognise the Anzacs by their valour, all linked by the golden thread of national honour. Captain Albert Jacka embodied the spirit of the Anzacs, a spirit each and every Australian embodies in their daily lives. In channeling the spirit of Captain Jacka and the spirit of the Anzacs, we can overcome the challenges we face. We are a nation that rises to the challenge, just as the Anzacs did. We look after our mates, just as the Anzacs did. We remember those who don't stand with us today, just as the Anzacs did. I would like to leave you with a quote from Arthur Ball, who perfectly illustrates the spirit of the Anzacs. It is a powerful, driving sensation that can only be felt. It is a feeling that burns in the heart of every Australian and New Zealand countryman. A warm, tender, fiery, even melancholy ideal that nurtures intense patriotism in the innermost soul of